Hi and welcome to another episode, and what we've got here is the Acorn Electron, and I'm going to just talk about this part of it at the moment because that's the computer. This is an expansion part, but I want to talk about this. Now, what was it, 3, 4, maybe 5 years ago, I bought this because the keys, not the keycaps, but the keys are the same as what's on my BBC Master, which is also made by Acorn. Those computers were about in schools, colleges, universities and things, and the idea was that they would at least teach kids how to use a keyboard, but also how to teach basic and other educational purposes. You know, when people started writing educational games, it would help in primary schools and secondary schools, and you could learn about science, or you could learn how to read maybe. Anyway, the point is, the keycaps on here would be useless on my BBC Master, but the keys themselves, the things behind the keys themselves, are exactly the same as what's on my BBC Master, because my BBC Master is one of the later versions and they cheaped it out a little bit. But anyway, the point is, it's the same. And my idea was that I buy this cheap, and if the keys on there on the BBC start to break, I can cheaply replace them with one of these. Maybe a bit of messing around with desoldering and cleaning and so forth. But instead of, buying random ones off of someone on eBay for quite costly price, and I understand why they do those prices, but the point is, I could do it all in one go myself, and I'd have years and years worth of keys. Anyway, I got talking to Retro Tech Ralph, he's a friend of mine, and he said that he had a power supply unit, and he tested it, made sure it works and everything like that, and I could have it. So I thought, great, plug it in, because the video side of it is the same as what's inside, well, not inside, the same connection as what's on the BBC Master, so I could get a picture straight away. So I plug it in, power comes on, and that little light comes on, and then I don't get a picture. But it turns out inside there's a chip, and I think it's called the PLA chip, and Ralph explained to me that it seems quite common, from what he's read at least, that you take that out, clean it up, put it back in again, the Electron will probably boot. And lo and behold, messing around doing all of that, it did. But then that left me in predicament, because me being me, I like to get everything for a computer as much as I can. As long as it's within pocket money range, or allowance, whatever you want to say. Yes, I'm far too old for that sort of thing, but you know what I mean. Basically a budget of what I can spend monthly on stuff. Now, this gives you some expansion slots, as you can see there. It also gives you a chance to hook up a printer if you so wished, and it gives you a 15-pin analog port, which, if you're going to do some sciencey type stuff, it'll probably come in very handy. But anyway, to load games on here, you can use a tape deck because it has the ports at the side. But I'd really like to get my hands on the tape deck, which is an ALF03, has the same sort of graphics as this, and it would sit along with it very nicely. But in the meantime, got my hands on an ELK SD+1, which allows me to load stuff off of there, off of an SD card. So that can sit in a socket. And I also bought a joystick interface, which I'll show at a later time when I'm actually plugging all this in, and a ROM, so that I can change the ROM that's actually inside here. We'll have a whole episode of where I mess around and do that. But the point is that then I'll be able to control what the joystick port would be doing in comparison to the keys. So even if a game isn't set up to work with a joystick, I can make it work with a joystick. At least that's the master plan behind it. So this is going to be another project that will be coming up at a later time. I don't know when, but it will be coming up, and I want to get in things done. I'm not going to be retro brighting it because here in the UK it's not sunny enough for that sort of thing right now, and from what I've seen with retro brighting, it looks great at first, but at a later date it might not do. So I'm 50-50 on even doing it when the sun does come back out again. But just to show you some interesting things underneath, the interface port at the back, you interface in and then you put these 2 whopping big screws in to make sure it doesn't wobble back off again. Quite funny really. But as I say, at a later date I'll be bringing this back out again and showing you more about the Electron as I learn about it, and I open up this section which is actually called a +1 and change the ROM in it so we can have a look at that, and maybe even do some mods to the Electron itself, because it has a speaker and no out through the sound, and from what I've seen it's possible to mod the, I think it's the RF port, so that it becomes the sound out instead, because obviously nowadays no one uses RF anymore. I hope that was of some interest. I was wanting to do something else, but there's been a bit of a problem with that, so I'm having to contact the makers. I'll talk about that when I get information back, but I want to give them a chance first. But as always, happy gaming.